Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dr.T, the Gaymer and Film PhD. Joining me today is the prolific Renaissance man, Bil Antoniou. Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Angelo, for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. So I know Bill primarily from his podcast with Michael Skolard and Daniel Krolik, Bad Gay Movies, or BGM, which also stands for Bitchy Gay Men.
Yes.
But one podcast isn't enough for this man, because Bill also has a podcast with Gregory Roseborough called Riviera Rats, a Palme d'Or podcast, which is a podcast that is dedicated and focuses exclusively on the Cannes Film Festival and the films selected for screening at the festival. And he also writes about classical cinema for That Shelf, a film and television website and podcast. Bill, needless to say, you know a thing or two about movies, and I'm really excited to have you here. I can't wait for us to start talking.
Oh, I'm very happy to be here. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say more. It is a thrill to be here. Thank you for a very gracious introduction. It's nice to be told that I know a lot about movies from a film PhD, because my degree was in English, so I don't have anything academically behind me in terms of film.
Girl, because I was a flight attendant for 2 years, I was actually just talking about this with a friend of mine who did his master's at Concordia with me, and he's going to be a guest at some point soon. I have to get him before he actually goes to Poland for like half the summer. And I was basically like, I'm on a movie kick, right? Like I went to a bunch of movies at Inside Out. I saw Backrooms yesterday.
I follow your socials. Yeah.
I follow you. I mean, obviously we follow each other, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm on a movie kick, and I'm like, I forgot how much I love movies, but with the job that I was doing before, I barely had time to go out and do anything. And when I did, I was so brain dead from like staying up all night or being up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I don't have the energy to focus on a movie. I just need to watch like the same TV show, like The Office or Parks and Rec or Superstore, or like the same show that I've seen 1,000 times, and just kind of like zen out. So I'm excited to actually.
I'm also surprised at all the movie watching you've been doing, because when I met you
a decade ago,
100,000 years ago, yes, we met on Grindr. Let's just put that out for everyone to.
We're just being honest with everyone.
I hide nothing in this life because people will find out anyway, so there's no point.
The drama.
Because everyone.
Where's my fan? I mean my gay drama fan.
Yes. So when we met and had a lovely summer as well. By the way, you were a wonderful guy to hang out with.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
That's a rarity. No, I'm kidding.
That's a rarity for me too. You told me you weren't that long out from completing your many degrees, and I remember you telling me you just didn't watch movies anymore because your education kind of burned you out of wanting to watch them, talk about them.
Yes.
And I was like, dude, I've got one subject I can talk about, so I don't know what we're gonna move forward on here. So it's interesting that you've kind of bounced back all these years later that I'm catching up with you, that you're, a cineast again. Also, at the time, you told me your favorite movie was Showgirls. And
still is, honey. Still is.
I can't tell you how much I'm so over people with their love of Showgirls.
Oh my God. Okay, so listen. When did we first meet? Did I finish my PhD? Because I defended my thesis.
Yeah.
I had just finished. So
I don't know if you had just finished, but it wasn't that far after. So
it would have been like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, something
I think.
Like that.
Was I working for the government?
Mm-hmm.
I was working for the government. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I unfortunately my
Sorry, my battery was about to die because I forgot to plug my laptop in. Go on.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. So I finished my PhD, and I was so burnt out from movies and academia and thinking. My brain was just so rotted that I'm like, I don't want to talk about movies. I don't want to do any of that. And it took a while for me to make my way back. And honestly, you know what it really was that actually got me back to doing all of this and finding my passion again was actually Heated Rivalry.
Really? Are you a fan?
What? You know what? People think I'm a sassy sort of Greek gay. You are the queen of the I'm like maybe like a page or like, someone in like the court.
I think it's great. I don't shame anyone for passions. I love when people have passions. I don't care if they're not ones that I share. But I do understand what you're talking about because, my English degree is an undergrad. And yet when I finished it, like I did really, really well and I loved it. And then I couldn't read Victorian literature ever again. Like as soon as I was done, I would read it and I'm like, I don't understand this at all. And I was writing amazing papers on
Yes.
Thomas Hardy and Charles Dickens, and then all of a sudden now I couldn't understand them anymore.
So listen, Bill, like I said, you are incredibly prolific. You do so much related to film, writing, podcasting. I love the work that you do. But why
Oh,
don't you
that's
tell us
nice.
just a little bit about yourself and how you got into podcasting and writing and all the work that you do there?
Well, I actually don't know how I got into anything. Everything just sort of life just seems to happen. I grew up in Scarborough, Ontario, proud, born and raised
Oh,
to
not
dream.
Toronto, you're Scarborough.
I am Scarborough, yeah. And although I was actually born in Toronto, I was born at Toronto General.
Me too.
Yeah, because there was only one hospital 1,000 years ago when we were
Right.
born, and my mom went there in a horse and carriage. Son of Greek immigrant parents. I know you can relate.
Hmm.
And yeah, I always wanted to be an actor from when I was a kid, for the wrong reasons when I was a kid, but they eventually
What?
became the right reasons. Well,
What were the
because
wrong reasons?
you are an outsider. You're gay from the day you were born. You're always a bit weird. And I used to watch movies, and everyone approved of everyone who was in the movies. So I thought, well, if I'm an actor, then I will be approved of as well.
Right.
And plus they were exciting. I mean, I grew up in the era of Spielberg movies, so it was just like, oh, of course I want to
Yeah.
do that, because I thought that that's what it was like to be in the movies, was to actually be Indiana Jones. So,
But movies were so much better back then too. Like we grew up in the era of
well, I think
VHS,
all
right?
old people say that, but yeah,
It's fine. I still believe
I'm
it.
fine with it being true. I just think that everyone always says that about the movies of their youth. Um, yeah, anyway, but I kept pursuing it, and it never really became a professional thing. But once I started like doing training and working in theater in particular, I found that I actually did care about being good at it for the right reasons, and
Okay.
so I continued to do it. And but at the same time, you're pursuing acting professionally or as an amateur, you end up with a lot of free time, even when you are working full time, and in my case, going to university as well. And so you're just always looking for ways to stay busy and to do more and to get yourself out there as well.
Right.
And so I was listening to a lot of podcasts at work, and I loved listening to them. And they seemed possible, because that's the other thing, is that when you're pursuing your passions, you're looking for the ways in which you can make things happen. I don't know how to raise money to make a movie. That's not something I have any connection to. While as like podcasting, it's like, oh, I just need to figure this out, and I can do it with my friends, and that's how it got started. And I also knew that if I was going to start one, and if it was going to have any traction, it couldn't just be a general film podcast. It had to be about something specific, with a specific niche subject as well as audience. So I came up with the idea of doing bad gay movies. And the first two people I asked to be on it, Mike and Dan, were both really in. And so that's how that all got started. And 13 years later, we're still doing it. Not to the same level that we did when we started, but
Right.
we do still do it.
So I have to ask then, why bad gay movies? Because usually podcasts like to focus on like good things. So why did you decide to go after the bad movies?
Because it's more fun to talk about.
Is it about shit talking?
Because us gays, we love our shit talking, but also because I would go to the Inside Out Film Festival with
Okay.
friends, and we would see a movie that was bad,
Okay.
and we knew that it was going to be bad beforehand, and then it was bad while we were watching it, and then we all went out after and talked about how bad it was, and the whole experience was fun. And so I thought there's something in that.
It is fun to be like I don't want to say hateful, but it is fun to be kind of bitchy about things, right? It's kind of fun to I don't want to say either like tear things down, but it's fun to kind of like criticize, and when something is unfortunately like not great, to just kind of really relish in its poorness and
Yeah.
just kind of read it to film. It's really reading, right? It's reading
The
something to
intention
film.
is never to tear anything down, ever, even though I understand if the people who are the targets of our conversations feel that way. Of course they're allowed to, but because there are some movies that are like movies about boys who are spies who just happen to get into their underwear all the time. Like, those movies are intentionally bad. They are made with a camp flavor in mind, and so the fact that you're laughing with it and not at it.
Right.
And then there are other movies where you just wonder if the person making it knows anything about how human beings interact, and so there's a different flavor in talking about those things. But the intention is never to be cruel just for cruelty's sake. And the people who like our podcast the most usually often tell us that they appreciate that we don't just shit on things, that we actually talk in granular detail about the ways in which a movie doesn't necessarily achieve the targets that it's going for. And
Right.
we all know about movies. Like we all know the vocabulary, so we know, we know how to talk about that.
It's a gay thing, right? In the sense that there's something to be said about reading, right? Like you're reading something.
Sure.
You're reading a film, and in fact, like a textual analysis is a form of reading. But you're reading something to filth, and it's fun to read, and
Well, and
and it
having a
sometimes throw a bit of
superior
shade.
knowledge of popular culture is also a gay thing, so
That's true. That's
yeah.
true. I mean, we the gays really like to have their pop culture knowledge. It's part of our secular Bible. It's a core part of the secular Bible. Then let me ask you this, because you mentioned this a little bit before about like growing up and wanting to
Hmm.
be an actor. I find that a lot of like, especially queer people that develop a fascination for film, like a love of film, I think that it does stem from those early years. And I
Yeah.
know that's true for myself. I really enjoyed movies in a way because, and even video games, like I love video games and films, thus Dr.T, the Gamer and Film PhD, in part because I didn't really have all that many friends. So I found a lot of entertainment, and I developed a rich inner life, reading books, very typically gay in a way,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
maybe a bit Gen X, a bit, early millennial. I think that it might be changing now with social media and like the focus on like queerness and non-binary and so on and so forth. Like there's been a move towards making queerness more accessible in public. But for myself, like I think that I gravitated towards a lot of these forms of entertainment as not necessarily as an escape, but as a way to create a relationship. It created a sensibility with all of these other sort of like young queer people who were doing the same thing as me. We just weren't connected because there was no way for us to really connect. This was like pre-internet, right? Like as you said, like this was the 80s and 90s, like.
Yeah.
And of course, when dial-up first started, we weren't using. If we were using it to connect with people, it was for all the wrong reasons. We'll just leave it at that. You know what I mean? Taking up the phone line for hours at a time. But so for you, like, do you feel the same way? Like, did you find that your queerness and your gayness like played a role in your fascination of film and your love of film?
Yes, although I wouldn't have known it at the time. I wouldn't
Right.
have been able to articulate any of this at the time. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're a stranger in a strange world when you're in any way queer, because you tend to be born into a family that's not. And so there is a lot to be said about the ways in which the media that you consume allows you to find a place where you belong. And also gay men are and gay women, of course, are taught to hide. We're taught to hide from a young age, or at least in my generation. I don't know, maybe now that maybe there are more tolerant parents out there, although I suspect that there aren't nearly enough of them. But from my childhood, you were taught to be ashamed of anything that wasn't heteronormative.
Right.
Basically, I knew that I couldn't dress up like a girl or act like a girl or do any or like boys the way girls were supposed to like boys. And so we learn somehow through instinct to hide from a young age, and movies allow us to live that side of ourselves. It's also why gay men tend to gravitate towards women in media, is because they allow us to live that out. And then what happens is, then you have media where there are gay men being presented, and we reject it partly because our instinct to hide is still there, so we're mad at somebody else for not hiding, and also because we become obsessed with, like, well, that's not me, this one person doesn't represent me. So yeah, I think that's a very common experience for a lot of people.
But before we dive into the gay movies, I want to know actually, what are some of your like early like childhood or teenage films? Like what are the films that you fell in love with that like you still have fond memories of today or that have affected you to this day?
Oh, I mean, there's so many, because I watched a lot of TV as a kid.
Me too.
Because I always had my homework done, so my parents didn't give me crap about the amount of TV I watched.
Me too. We were the A students.
Yeah, I mean, as is typical of a gay kid, particularly of my generation, I loved The Wizard of Oz from when I was a really small child. I loved Judy Garland from when I was a kid. Like, we're not straying too far from stereotypes here. But I also I loved my gay stuff, and I loved my guy stuff too. Like, I loved Batman a lot. I saw
Yes,
the
I
first movie when
did.
I was 12, and I was like huge on that. But I also loved Mermaids with Cher and Winona Ryder. I watched that. I've seen that
So
movie
good.
100 million times.
And that
Um,
song.
yeah, and then I actually got into movies seriously in high school, and the movie that really, and I've told this story many times, the movie that really changed my life as a film watcher was actually the Merchant Ivory film Howard's End with Emma Thompson and Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, I've seen that movie more times than any other movie in my life.
And why?
And I really don't know. I mean,
Okay.
but when I walked into that movie theater, my favorite movie was like Dick Tracy. Like I was a regular teenager. I think I'm not a regular teenager. I don't think I've ever been a regular anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I, you know, my I wasn't like a movie guy. And then that movie, I don't know if it was something about, it's very smart and complex, but it's also funny. Like I didn't know that movies could be important and entertaining at the same time. And it was also at a time when this appetite in me was already opening up to wanting to watch capital C cinema and not
Right.
just enjoy movies. So I think it hit me it got me at the right time. Um, and of all the movies that I discovered in that period of like 14, 15 years old that I loved, like Dangerous Liaisons and Bram Stoker's Dracula was a big one for me back then.
Oh.
Howard's End is the only one that like it hasn't aged for me at all. When I watch it now, I love it just as much as I did when I saw it at the Varsity cinema, when it was only two cinemas before it was renovated
Mm-hmm.
in the summer of 1992. And I still remember what the theater smelled like. I still remember what people laughed at. I remember standing in line for it. Like it was a very momentous evening for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That's amazing. So, Bill, are you what have you sort of been in? Like, you've done theater, have you done movies? Like, talking about
No
acting.
one. Whenever anyone says like, "Have I seen you in anything?" I just laugh because no, it's mainly been amateur theater in Toronto. That's as far as I got. Although my agent still believes in me, so you know who knows? I might make it when I'm 60.
It's never too late. It is never too late.
I mean, I don't think so. I actually don't care, and I know that I'm hesitant to say that because it makes it sound like I'm
I don't
diffident in some
care.
way, right? And it makes it sound like I'm defensive, and I don't feel defensive about it. I had a lot of great opportunities when I was young. I auditioned for all the right people. They didn't pick me, and I didn't take it personally. And so I just figured this is how it was meant to be because I didn't really mind.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a problem, which is that I always pursue the things that I like and that I enjoy doing. And I'm not good at commodifying it in any way to my benefit. And
Right.
so I would always do all of this amateur theater because I loved doing it and it made me happy.
That's
And
all that
thankfully I
matters.
had a full-time job, so I never had to worry too much about money. But I never was one of those people who was like, pushing my way into every room, into every party, into every whatever to make it. Like I didn't have that driving ambition, a lot of that having to do with a childhood that I won't get into on this podcast. But I never really had that, and so I just did what I liked, and what I liked was never anything that was really going to progress me in any way. But I remain open to everything. I love acting. I have a fun time doing it. I always want to get better at it. I feel like I've got a handle on how I perform on stage. There's still a lot I don't know about acting on camera. So if anything, I would love to be cast in things just to learn about it.
But you have a really nice voice, Bill. Like
Oh,
I could
thank you.
it's very Bob Ross. Like I could listen to you sort of like read books, like
Hmm.
audiobooks or like cartoon characters. Like I'm surprised you've never went into like voice acting or something like that because you
Well, I've
have a very
auditioned for a lot of
unique
that too. That's actually a really hard aspect of the business to get into.
right.
It's a very small circle, and yeah, it's not easy to break into that. But yeah, no, I've always liked my voice. I I've always liked my singing voice. There's not
Ooh, are you gonna sing for us?
no, but
Okay.
there's not a ton I like about myself. So I figure you should like emphasize the things that you do like, and that is something I do like. I always loved public speaking from when I was very young. I loved being articulate. I liked learning new words and speaking properly, and I was a
Yeah.
grammar Nazi from a young age. So I was always into that sort of thing.
So Bill,
Hmm.
we know that you like movies. We know that you don't like movies. I would like to know before we get into the movies you don't like, because again, I want to talk more about BGM.
Okay.
What are some of your favorite gay movies before we talk about the gay movies that you don't like so much?
There are the obvious choices like Brokeback Mountain, My Beautiful Laundrette are
Yes,
wonderful. I think The Long Day Closes by Terrence Davies counts as a gay movie. Um,
I
it's
don't think I've seen that.
it's the movie that I want to be playing while I die. Um, There's a really great Brazilian movie called Madame Satã that I really love by Karima Inus. And then, the oeuvre of Pedro Almodovar, from beginning to end, all of it. Um, I love, there's an Argentinian filmmaker named Marco Berger, all of whose films I love. They're all ridiculous indulgences in gay male sexuality,
What are they
some
called?
better than others. What, sorry?
What are they called? Or at least
So
one or two?
his first one was called Plan B, which is probably still my favorite. But he made a movie called Hawaii that I really liked. The blonde one I really liked.
Okay.
Horseplay is not one of his better ones. Taekwondo is another film. Anyway, Marco Berger, Berger. I follow him on Instagram. There is a really, really, really very sexy aesthetic to his movies that I love.
Okay.
But I also find it's interesting. His movies are mostly about tension, which I really like about them. They're about delayed desire, and he does it extremely well. His movies really, really, really turn me on. And then Stranger by the Lake, the
Marco.
French movie by
Oh yeah.
what's his name? Vincent Alain Guiraudie. Stranger by the Lake is one of the absolute sexiest movies ever made.
It's sexy, but it's also just very well accomplished.
And very well, I mean, it's Hitchcockian level
Yes.
brilliance of control and tension and mood, but also really fucking hot. One of the few times that I remember sitting in a movie theater and my head didn't even move while I was watching it because I was so entranced by, and like I'm a fidgeter. It's no matter how much I'm enjoying a movie, because I'm a big guy, no movie theater seat is comfortable for me. And I just remember sitting perfectly stock still for 2 hours watching that film.
It was a very, very sexy movie. And, again, with a lot of queer cinema, and as I would say, especially like a lot of gay males, focused cinema, there is almost like requisite need to have a certain amount of flesh in it. Like there's an expectation that it needs to be, not necessarily needs to be, but like, I don't think you can divorce sex from representation. And I think a lot of queer
we're
cinema.
Guys. We like to look.
We do like to look.
Yeah.
And
the guys in that movie are beautiful. So
they are. Like we need to see that represented. We want to see those bodies represented. We want to see that aspect of us represented as well. Not just for like prurient and voyeuristic reasons, but I mean it's ingrained into who we are, right? Like I think there's something that needs to sort of be there.
Reasons are valid as well. I mean,
they can be, absolutely they can be.
Sexual being. I also love that movie because Stranger by the Lake, because it deals with the very uncomfortable, politically incorrect connection between gay male sexuality and violence in a way that I find humorous and provocative. I really enjoy that about it because, of course, I am on board with all of this love is love speak that we have in the changes in the political landscape of where gay men and women are in the world. But there is this sort of thing that happens once LGBT becomes more acceptable in the culture, around the Will and Grace era, that it also leads to a kind of sanitization of us being monogamous good people, like all straight people see themselves as.
Right.
So I need there to also be more transgressive cinema of us not being good people doing bad things for all the wrong reasons. And the fact that in that movie he is even more attracted to the guy that he's attracted to because he thinks he might be a murderer is something that I just find delightful, because movies at their best for me are movies that are not moralizing but are decidedly amoral, which brings us back to Showgirls, because as much as I find that movie really, really hard to sit through, I don't care that it's bad. I find it boring, and that's why I'm amazed by people who love it. But Paul Verhoeven is one of my absolute favorite filmmakers, and the reason I love him is because he's not a moralizer. He actually sees.
Well, he's Dutch.
But he's also, I mean, he was like, he studied theology, and and there's a whole lot of his biography that I find really interesting. But he makes movies about the fact that morality is something that people use as a way to abuse authority. That's what a lot of his movies are about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what RoboCop is about. That is what Starship Troopers is about, and also Elle with Isabelle Huppert. I mean, that's a fascinating movie. Contemplating morality.
Well, and Showgirls in its own way does that too, right? But in a very different lens.
I don't know. I also haven't seen that movie in
We're gonna
more
do a
than
film
20 years.
screening.
So
We're
yeah,
gonna do a
maybe.
reaction video
Great.
film screening where we can both react to it, and I will be cheering and you will be just sleeping.
Great.
So okay, so you touched on something that I think is really important here, which is you're right, like the sanitization of gay representation that I still think is rooted in again the HIV/AIDS epidemic, right? Because when
Absolutely.
we
Because
understand
we
that,
were
but I
told that we
think
brought it on ourselves, right? So we had to prove that we were good people.
well, and also it was also just like these images of like gay men sort of dying, emaciated, sick, et cetera, being paraded around the media. I know that right now we're going through a bit of a period where like queer people, gay people, but in particular trans people are being sort of targeted and misrepresented in the
Hmm.
media. But I think for people our age, younger people who were born either in the midst of the AIDS epidemic or at the tail end of it or afterwards, they have no idea what it was like to have, dead gay men on the cover of like newspapers and magazines, to be vilified as like a disease. Like if you thought COVID was a problem, like imagine being represented as COVID, as like the plague of death. I don't
Yeah.
think people quite
Particularly before
understand.
the facts were commonly known too, because I do remember Rock
But
Hudson
even then, it was
dying.
just mass manipulation too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Rock Hudson died when I was a kid, and I remember people talking about getting it from toilet seats and getting it from kissing and all that stuff, and people believe that
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah,
No, for sure. And even for us, like, I mean, I was a kid in the late 80s and I was sort of coming into like my teenage years in like the mid 90s. And then, of course, like what's called like the AIDS cocktail came out, and then,
yeah,
AIDS was no longer a death sentence. But it's interesting how once AIDS was no longer a death sentence, and there was a big push throughout the 90s in particular to like represent sort of gay and queer people as healthy, as good,
yeah,
as not sexual, as monogamous, as looking for love. Like there was a strategic shift.
yeah,
And you see that even in the film of the movies that we made, right? Because I think that, and one of the things that I argued in my thesis was that movies shifted from sort of like representing gay culture or trying to make artistic treaties or statements about gay and queer culture, became these sort of strategic tools that were used to like misrepresent or create an identity that we were all expected to sort of like either bow down to, or that was meant to speak on our behalf, that became, as you said, very sanitized. Love is love.
yeah.
Everyone's about wanting like a relationship, being monogamous. And again, I think it was a strategic move away from the narrative of like the promiscuous homosexual who is diseased, who wants nothing but partying, to no, we're just like you. We're like the doppelgangers of like straight people. We just want it with someone of the same sex.
Yeah,
And
I think the motivation and I think most of the motivation was not wanting to hear complaints. I think
what do you mean?
like Doug Savant on Melrose Place, right? Like on the one hand, you want to have gay representation, and you don't want gay groups to be offended that he is in any way stereotypical or portrayed in a negative way. You also don't want to hear from conservative straight people, so he just becomes this like angel
Well, but
with
this
no
is the
sex.
role. But this is the role of these sort of like, I would say like more liberal organization. Oh, I mean, I shouldn't necessarily say liberal or conservative, but a lot of gay advocacy groups that played a really big role in kind of disciplining and creating this monolithic, as you said, inoffensive, almost bland, sexless, and also at times like really just not all that interesting sort of like
Yeah,
gay characters.
yeah, because straight
Um,
acting is
or and
yeah.
but like, and again, like, but like why are like, first of all, like again, what is a stereotype? And I don't always understand why we still have this conversation around stereotypes in an era when there is so much gay and queer representation on social media, in movies and television. Like there's still this idea of like of an archetype of what we call the stereotype that still exists, that we still feel the need to find,
But also, why aren't we
offensive.
talking about the fact that some stereotypes are based in reality and aren't necessarily inherently bad, and that it's a matter of how you treat them
Well,
and
it's
present them?
diversity. Some
Right.
people are going to be, but but listen, I
Like
could
I'm a
also say,
stereotype in many ways, so are you, so are many people, and like it's a
but
matter
so
of
are the straight acting sort of like butch sort of like
sure,
gay men. It's just like, so then what exactly is like what are we calling a stereotype, and what is a stereotype in this day and age? I
yeah.
don't think it actually exists anymore.
But
I
also,
think it
why
might be
aren't we
some,
debating its value? Because
yeah.
when Mel Gibson made Braveheart, Mel Gibson, the tireless leader of liberal causes, as we all know him,
Very much so.
unless you're not a straight white man. But when he made Braveheart, which is a movie that I love, it's a great movie. It's so beautiful and exciting. But GLAAD very rightly spoke up about it. It was accused of homophobia, and that's because it is a homophobic movie. And it's not because his presentation of Edward II is as a stereotypical Nelly Queen king or prince. He was a prince still at the time. That's not the problem. The problem is that Edward II's weakness is rooted in his being gay and not rooted in the fact that he's a stereotypical Nelly Queen. Do you know what I mean? Like, he makes the gay the problem instead of this particular guy being the problem. So the fact that he presents him in a stereotypical way isn't the problem. It's how he uses it thematically within the film, and then the fact that he also like has the king throw his boyfriend out the window and it's played for laughs, which is not great, you know. But so that's an example that I always think of, because
Yeah, that's
again,
true.
it's okay that Edward II, to me, it's okay that he's a limp-wristed queen, but the fact that he sucked at the job of being a king wasn't because of that.
Right. He
It's
was
because
just
of him.
a bad king. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. We talked about your favorite gay movies.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your least favorite gay movies. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the question is twofold in the sense of what are, as an expert of bad gay movies,
Yeah.
what are bad gay movies that you love, but also what are bad gay movies that you just really just hate and don't like? I'm curious.
I mean, we're on episode like 225 or something, so there's been a lot over the years.
Wait, when
that
did you
we've
start
seen.
BGM again? Like,
February or March of 2013.
so it's been
Yeah.
13 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
With our first episode was The Next Best Thing with Madonna and Rupert Everett. I always knew I wanted that to be episode 1.
Cut it out for
The
her.
ones that I hate the most are the movies that hate sex.
Okay.
There are movies that, you know, as you talk about, that draw an audience in with the promise, you know, like there's gorgeous guys on the cover and it's a rom-com or a romantic drama, whatever it is. And then once you get into the movie, you see that it's always about two guys falling in love, and one of them is a player and the other one wants him to settle down. And it's always about shaming the player into monogamy.
And I feel like there's like a gender stereotype that's there too, like the domestication of like the wild beast that's trying to spread his seed.
But also this constant idea that if you are single and having a lot of, do we still say casual sex in the 21st century, or is that
Sure.
something that I
Fun,
learned from my
hooking up.
parents? Yeah, guys who are hooking up a lot without necessarily looking for a serious relationship, it's because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. They can't commit. And it's like, no, they're actually just being guys. You and I and everybody else who listens to the show who is a gay man, or anybody who is queer in any way, and also straight people, like, we have all looked for a relationship while at the same time hooking up, because it's on a day-to-day basis, and we just do what we can to pass the time, basically.
Well, it's also a shifting
So-
thing, right? Like sometimes you're just like, I'm not really looking for anything. I'm just looking for fun. And sometimes you're looking for fun with the prospect of potentially sort of finding something more.
Yeah.
And it can shift from week to week or month or month to month, right?
But
We
what
live in a
what
world
I'm
of
trying to get at
options.
is, in these movies, it's always about how, like, this is the wrong thing and now you found the right thing, which I find very conservative, you know, like
I
very
need
like
names. I need
old
names.
school.
Give me names.
There are a bunch of movies by a director named J.C. Calciano
Okay.
that are particularly bad for this. His
Okay.
movies, everyone in it is like a gorgeous supermodel,
Right.
but it's always about, and like, there's always excuses for guys to get their shirts off and stuff, but there's never really sex in them.
Okay.
And so, like,
So
one
it's
of them
teasing.
is called E-Cupid. There's another one called The 10-Year Plan. What was that other one? Is It Just Me? I think it's called.
Okay.
Those are the ones that I find particularly egregious for this,
Okay.
which is that, like, why are you such a child? Like, why is this immature, sexually repressed person allowed to make gay movies instead of someone with a little more talent?
Now, is your issue with them ideological? But what about the quality of the film itself in terms of like the characters, like enjoyment, or like
in this case, and also in a lot of cases, it is also a matter of filmmaking. You know, like, listen, I understand that these guys are working with very little money and they're grabbing their friends in West Hollywood to make a film. They're working with what they've got. But we've also all seen examples of micro-budget movies that still manage to really kick ass despite the limitations. And some of these movies really blow my fucking mind in terms of the fact that they are so, like, low rent in every way. I mean, the comment we make a lot on the show is, it's not expensive to write a good script. It's expensive to shoot it, but it's not expensive to write it. So why are you writing this dialogue that makes no sense and that is not in any way the way people speak?
I mean, do you think that this is also like the studios that do this? Like the issue is that studios
We're not
think
talking
that
about movies that are made by studios, though.
oh, so it's just completely independent then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's just
Real
people that happen to
DIY
have
situation. Yeah.
right. But you're right. I feel like in the 90s and especially in the 2000s, I think that there was like a renaissance of like indie sort of queer film, the
Yeah.
festival circuit. But you're right, like the acting and the writing was always kind of hit or miss. One thing that you said before that really struck me was this idea again, like of not necessarily having to have everything be like a sanitary representation. And I think that there's a need for transgression in film, right? Like queer cinema needs to be diverse. Like I don't mind like a good rom-com. I don't mind a good romance. But not everything has to be about putting images on screen for like conservative straight people and being worried that they're gonna come and take your rights away if you give them ammunition
That are
that
reassuring
proves
conservative
anything.
gay people, too. Like, there's also nothing wrong with monogamy and like making a
No,
romance in which two guys play around until they find each other and decide to commit. Like, that's fine. It's
yes.
just the attitude with which you do it, of like that. Because the hypocrisy of a lot of these movies that I'm talking about is the fact that they begin with guys indulging in sex culture, as a way to draw me in as a viewer. I am voyeuristically enjoying the casual sex, the circuit parties on screen, all the flesh, all the whatever, and then it becomes all about rejecting that for the sake of a monogamous relationship. So it allows me to indulge in the
I
sort
mean,
of
Heated
a
Rivalry
sinful
kind of did
aspect.
that too, right? He brought you in with those sexy bodies and then kind of focused it more on the
Yeah, but
emotion.
that
But
was
there
about two
wasn't.
people. That show is about people finding each other. It's not
Yeah,
about
yeah.
people rejecting the bad in order to find the good.
No, I just think it's funny that, like, again, this is a common element, right? Is you
Yeah.
kind of need to draw viewers in with that sort of initial voyeuristic
Well, I
sort of
think the
like
common
visual
element is
pleasure.
the fact that you can connect anything to Heated Rivalry, which is a real skill at this point. I think it's
Girl,
like,
listen,
yeah,
that show, never mind. Like, again,
that's your PhD. That's your
there's so
PhD
much that you
skill.
could filter, like, queer culture, queer representation, and history through what's going on in that show. But
I don't think there is. I think you just love it, and that's great.
I do want to actually hear your thoughts on Heated Rivalry.
So yeah, it's not. It's only 6 episodes, which I
Yes.
appreciate, because then you distill everything to the essential stuff. You don't, like, the way a lot of Netflix shows are clearly a movie pitch that didn't work out, so they spread it out into 12 episodes of a show, and
Yes.
like episode 1 is just watching someone make breakfast.
Yes.
I appreciated that aspect of it. As we said, it looks really good.
Yes.
And the actors are all great, and they're all, they all look gorgeous naked, and that aspect of it
Oh,
is wonderful. But
oh, Connor,
also
sorry, that shower scene.
I like that about it. The fact that like the romance is really wonderful, and so is the sex. Like it's sexy and sweet at the same time, and
Yes.
very sincere, and just, I don't know, it's really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I'm not one of those people who's going to watch it like multiple times.
Have you read any
Um,
of the books?
you know what? I recently started the first one and I couldn't get past chapter 3. But it's not an aspect of literature that I'm particularly interested in anyway. So like, I
Okay.
don't mind that I've never gotten into these books, but I never have.
Yeah, it's not your thing. I mean,
Yeah.
what I will say about Game Changer, the book, is that the thing that I'm upset about, and I've said this many times, is that the book has so much sex in it, and some of it is actually quite like a little naughty that I
Sure.
wish found its way because I would have loved to see Francois and Robbie kind of act out some of these scenes. Like you don't know about this, but there's a scene later on in the book where Scott is in a hotel room or in a hotel because he's traveling for work. He goes down to like a meeting room at a hotel, and then Kip, they start like Skyping or whatever, and then Scott Hunter's like, I have a toy in my drawer,
Great.
open the drawer, use it, and I'm just like, I would have loved to have seen this. I think that's what
I
I
know,
missed.
but
I missed that we missed.
the show being so mainstream popular wouldn't have happened if it was more,
I know,
outre than it
but like
was.
maybe if they get their 4-part miniseries, they will.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Who
I
knows?
don't know. I
Bill,
know that whatever comes out following the first season is just not going to do as well, because the immense popularity of this show is going to be one where people bring so much expectation to season 2 that they're going to be disappointed no matter what they see.
I disagree. I think season 2, because again, if you
I,
read,
I hope I'm wrong. I'm just saying, I don't feel like people will even allow it to be good because they're so intensely invested in it at this point.
I the long game, here's the thing, for people who have read the long game, and even for people who haven't, they know what the long game is about, right? And the
Yeah.
long game is very different because the long game is about them operationalizing their relationship, right? Because it's about them basically like coming out. Like that's what it's about, right? It's about
Yeah.
them beginning the process of managing their relationship as they are in a relationship. And then what that sort of looks like within the realm of like officially homophobic sort of like hockey culture. um but I think Tierney knows exactly what he's doing. I believe in both of them. I think,
Sure.
and I
Yeah.
think they're going to actually split it into two seasons, seasons 2 and 3, because they're going to take books 5 and 6, and
Okay.
5 introduces two new characters that are also very much
Well, and I'm sure he's not going to
beloved.
have any trouble getting anyone to pay for it. I don't know. I mean, whatever happens, I'm going to watch it. I look forward to it. You know, I like I said, I really enjoyed the show. I'm glad for everyone involved because they're all really talented. And what's her name? Sophie Nelise is going to need a job now that Yellow Jackets is wrapping up. So you know, good for her.
But it's funny because this year alone, besides Heated Rivalry, we've also seen Pillion. I
Yeah.
saw Blue Film a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So there does seem to be a trend back towards these irreverent, transgressive sex films that are not about monogamy, that are sort of putting the reality of what gay life is like, even in like very artistic ways. Like I'm not saying everybody's like a rent boy, because Blue Film is about like, like a cam model who has
Yeah.
a questionable sort of like relationship with an individual who's paying him money.
Right.
Pillion obviously is very specific to a very particular kind of dom sub sort of like
Mm-hmm.
relationship. But we are, and even again with Heated Rivalry, like you're putting these bodies, you're putting you're putting sex on screen in a way, and it's part of popular culture,
Yeah.
in a way that you haven't really seen before. So, and again, there is a transgressiveness to it as well, right? Because even with Shane and Ilya's relationship, like some people find it problematic. It's like, honey, like not everyone is super nice. Like people go through things, and this is like the tension of like of any sort of relationship. But like
Yeah.
I'm noticing again with Stranger by the Lake, I'm seeing maybe a bit more of like an openness and a return of sort of like queer transgressive representation on screen. What have you noticed any other films as of late? Because I feel like
Oh
during the
yeah.
COVID period,
It's
there
been
was
a
like a
great
lull.
it's been a great couple of years of gay cinema for sure.
Yeah,
I really loved Pillion. I also really loved Twinless. I loved Plain Clothes with Russell Tovey.
okay, yes,
There's a Argentinian movie called The Mysterious Gaze of the Flamingo that I really enjoyed.
right,
The director of that was just on the Cannes jury. There's a really
yes.
great British movie called Lurker with Archie Madekwe, and a Vietnamese movie called Viet and Nam that I also really like. So there's been quite a lot. A lot of it is it's the return of the mid-level movie, which disappeared
Because of
once
streaming.
because of streaming. When 15 years ago movies became everything had to be either a $200 million superhero movie or a micro budget Blumhouse horror movie. Those are the only movies the studios were making. And
Right.
that mid-level movie, you know, the Working Girls,
Yes.
the you know
Movies for adults. Everything became about
yes,
teenagers,
the
right?
movies that
Either
were
it
made
had to
for
be
like a healthy but not outsized budget that would turn a profit if they got nominated for Oscars and stuff, those all disappeared. They all became Netflix originals. They were all terrible. And I feel like they're since COVID and the movie theaters bouncing back a little, I feel like a lot of those movies are coming back.
Barbenheimer.
Yeah. So
No,
you
it's
have a lot
funny
of these talented queer filmmakers making them, not easily. I'm pretty sure that they are all having to pound pavement to source their budget. They are talented and they are able to put together enough of a budget for an independent movie and get noticed. And so I think that that's possibly why.
And I think that maybe people are also starting to move beyond the coming out film, because I think for several decades, because there's subgenres even in queer cinema, right? Like there's like the rom com and like the comedy, like the Eating
Yeah.
Out series, the Broken Hearts Club, and I like all those movies. And there's some really really good ones, but I think the coming out film is still a staple for very obvious reason. And I think there are
Yeah.
some really beautiful movies about sort of like coming out. And again, back to Heated Rivalry. But I'm also, I also want movies that are, what happens after you're out of the closet too,
Sure.
right? And again, this is where I think, like, you have the Heartstoppers, that I think is really important and very sweet, and I think actually quite well done. And then you have the films that are maybe just, again, geared more towards, adults rather than like a teenage
I think it also
market.
has a lot to do with how we're watching movies. I think back in the day when you only saw a movie in a movie theater, I think people cared a lot about, if I go to see this in a movie theater, what does that say about me?
Yeah.
Because other people see me going into that theater. A straight man who is not homophobic would still not go see a gay movie, because why would I go there? That's not my world.
Well, and
Whereas
this is the whole thing,
now,
even with Brokeback Mountain, right? Is a lot of men went with their wives, and their wives kind of brought them there, provided them
yes,
with that alibi, even if they wanted to see it,
but
because
also
people
because
assume that you're gay.
it's also because of the acclaim and Oscars as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awards tend to
But think of
muddy that. But
all of like the extra that needed to be piled on top of that movie just to get people to go and see it.
But you also
And there
have
wasn't even
things
that much gayness in it
change
too.
once you're watching movies at home.
Yes.
In the beginning, it's what am I going to be seen renting from the video store? But that doesn't even happen anymore. Now you're streaming it. No one is, you don't have
Privacy.
to tell anyone about what you're going to watch. You don't even have to watch it with everybody else in your house, because you can watch it on your laptop or your phone. So I think that has a lot to
But
do
the algorithm
with the
will know.
ways in which, well, yeah, but who pays attention to that, to anybody else?
Well,
in their
listen,
house?
if someone's on your phone, it's all of a sudden you're getting all these ads for you know what.
But I think it has a lot, that has a lot to do with the ways in which audiences for these movies have changed.
It's true, and
Yeah.
and it like the VHS, the switch towards like VHS and DVD, and then streaming did allow for greater levels of privacy, and this
Yeah.
was always the issue. And even with queer cinema, like this idea of it being like very queer specific, like you said, like there's an element I find that is endemic within queer cinema. That's almost like there's always like this kind of what I would call like an ethnographic lens, right? That a lot of queer cinema seems to be built around this idea of learning about gay people or learning about sort of like gay culture. There is this sense of, as you said, like, why would you see this movie if it's not part of your world?
Mm-hmm.
And at times it can be wanting to go in and not necessarily spy voyeuristically, but it could be like learning about the gays, learning about gay culture. And I think that even within the queer gays, in the sense of people like who are queer identified, kind of going in to sort of, see something or learn something, there's an element of like learning, didacticism, ethnography that is still, there's like a lens that still exists over the film lens
Sure.
that I think is still really fascinating. But this is why I think things like transgressive cinema that isn't interested about learning, it's not even art for art's sake, but it takes from gay culture, but it's not about teaching you anything about gay culture. Strangers from the Lake, Pillion might be a little bit different, because I think that it's the first time we've seen that particular kind of like dom sub relationship that sort of outlines like what this relationship is like. But this is the important of films that are artistic and are transgressive, is that it's not interested in teaching you about what it's like to come out of the closet or showing you what it's like to live in like West Hollywood or this and that. It's films that are just created for the sake of making a statement about like humanity, about sort of like queerness more broadly,
Mm-hmm.
through these artistic expressions, through symbolism, through subtext, et cetera, et cetera. Out of curiosity, do you have like a favorite queer like subgenre? Like, is there a favorite like subgenre of like queer cinema that you really enjoy, or is it more like just like the like artistic sort of like choices? Do you prefer international versus like North American? There is a
Well,
big corpus there. I'm curious, like, do you have your favorites, or is it just no, it depends on the film itself?
it does depend on the film itself. I can't say, as a film watcher in general, not just of queer cinema, I would say that my favorite kind of movie is a good movie, because I love every possible genre. I probably have a propensity towards the romance films, whether they're
Okay.
dramatic or comedic, because the thing I love most is when movies do a good job of making me care, like when I'm invested in the relationship on screen. It doesn't happen that often, but I do love it when that happens.
So
But
tell
no, I
me,
love every kind of movie. The international ones on average tend to be better, because the truth is, outside of Hollywood and India, all other film industries, they struggle to make movies no matter what they're about. So the gay
right.
movies are just as likely to be working against the grain as everything else. And so you'll see a lot of international cinema that's gay, that's really great. But no,
So what are some of your favorite? Some of your favorite queer romance movies?
queer romance movies. I should have thought of examples.
Heated Rivalry.
What?
Heated Rivalry.
Okay, but that's not a movie.
I know.
I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know anything outside
Cinematic.
of Heated Rivalry.
It's cinematic.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that. I'm not
I
sure.
don't think you know anything else outside of Heated Rivalry. The audacity to come on my podcast and insult me that way.
No. I think it's great. I think it's great that you love it.
But
I
okay,
love
so
that for you.
So that
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we're going to actually talk a little bit about Heated Rivalry because I need
great.
to know your actual thoughts because I mean you can't think of a romance film movie that you like. So we're going to talk
Yeah.
about this.
Well, I mean, I already talked about Brokeback Mountain. I love
Yes.
Stranger by the Lake, which
Is
is
Stranger by the Lake a romance movie?
I mean, it is to me. It's my kind of romance. So is Pillion.
Girl,
you
what
know.
is going on up in your head if that
Yeah.
movie is a romance to you?
Plan B is a good romance. Marco Berger's Plan B. It's
Okay.
about two straight guys who fall in love, and
Yes.
and you care about them quite a bit. Yeah, I did.
Aw.
Yeah.
What about Beautiful Thing? Like I like that. I
That's
actually
such a
like.
charming movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but that's a really charming movie.
It's so good. I love
Yeah.
Beautiful Thing. I love the cycle of like teen coming out films in like the
Yeah.
mid 90s. I thought that they were all so well done because again, there wasn't an established sort of like queer audience back then, so it was kind of made for everybody. Like Beautiful Thing was really great.
Edge of 17.
Get Real, Edge of
Yeah.
17. I love all of those
Yeah.
those teen
Trick
coming out movies.
by my good
Trick.
friend Jim Fall. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, you know Jim Fall?
I do. I mean, I haven't met him in person, but we talk a lot. Yeah.
Okay, girl. I actually did a flight to Los Angeles like a year or so ago, and guess who was on my flight?
Who?
Tori Spelling.
Oh, amazing.
And Tori Spelling is so lovely. I loved
Yeah.
her. She came
He
to the
loved her too.
front.
He loved working with her on that movie.
Well, and she was
Yeah.
so good in the movie. She was so lovely. We talked for like an hour and a half, right? Because it's
Oh,
a
that's
long
nice. Yeah.
flight. And I said to her, I said, Tori, I said, I have a very important question, and this is something that the gays really need to know. She's like, what? And I'm like, when is Trick 2 coming out? And she's like, oh my God. She's like, Angela, we are trying. The script is there. We're trying to get funding. We're
Yeah.
like, and that's the part that I find really tough. It's like even someone like who was established like Tori Spelling being attached to a project who was great in the film and a movie that was really great. Like, where is the funding for that? Maybe they
Where's
should
the
just do it in
funding for any of
Canada.
it? All the great, all the famous and great artists have struggle.
It's their
have
one
a
and
struggle
done.
yeah, like Jane Campion struggles to get a movie made. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like it happens.
I know it's a shame, but I just remember talking to her and we took a couple of selfies. I never posted them and I won't because again I believe in privacy. But she was so lovely and we talked about Trick, her experiences on the film, how much she really loved it. That is such a great film. Because again, it's a film that also doesn't necessarily try to punish its characters for sort of wanting to go out and have sex and hook up. But there is a movie. It's so lovely. And who was the drag queen in it? It was one of the classic
Coco
OGs.
Peru.
Yes. Coco Peru was in it.
Right?
I really hope that they get that made. I have no influence and I have no money, but like,
yeah,
hey,
Jim is great. He listens to BGM, and that's how he reached out to me first. And I was really excited when he did because I told him, I said, I've always loved your movie, particularly from that era of like indie gay cinema. It was always one of my favorites, and so that was a real honor to me that he even. And then he was on the show. He was a guest on the show to talk about another one of his movies.
What was the other one that he did?
Wedding Wars with John Stamos and the late great Eric Dane.
Where can people find you? And also like what's coming up for you next?
What's coming up for me is more podcasting. As you mentioned, I have the Bad Gay Movies podcast. We're going to record a new episode this week. I also have the Riviera Rats podcast with my dear friend Greg Roseborough, where we talk about the Cannes Film Festival. That podcast, our podcast is a very niche subject, but I hope more people will listen to it.
Well, where can they find him?
Greg, you can find through our podcast's Instagram.
Okay.
At Riviera Rats. And for myself, I'm working on a new play. I haven't finished a play that I've written in about 10 years, so I really hope to do that.
What's this one about? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I'm not going to talk about it at all.
Not even like a one-liner?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Is it gay? Can you say if it's gay?
Yeah, I mean, Is it
Greek?
Me, so yeah, no.
It's not?
I've always wanted to write a play. I've always wanted to write a play about like my Greek theists, you know? I've never hit on a strong enough idea to do it, but I've always wanted to do it. Because the old Greek ladies are really something to see, right? Because they're all fighting and then they're all taking care of each other at the same time.
What is it, the Yaya Sisterhood?
Yes, absolutely. So I've always wanted
to
do
actually
that,
Yaya's, like the Yaya's Sisterhood, not Yaya, the Yaya's Sisterhood.
That's right. Hopefully more acting. I don't have anything planned right now, but hopefully more of that. But people can find me. I have a Substack where I review movies. You can read my movie reviews.
Yes.
I think if you just look up my name and Substack, you'll find it. The links are all on my social medias.
I'll put a snippet in so everyone can see it.
Yeah, my Instagram is my name, Bil Antoniou, Bill with one L. And the podcasts are available anywhere you get your podcasts. They're hosted on Spotify, but they're available anywhere that you get your podcasts.
Bill, this was a lot of fun. I would love to have you back here, and maybe next time we can pick like either a particular film, a
Sure.
particular theme. We can talk about, maybe we can pick a bad gay movie and talk about it, or a particularly good movie. We can actually get into maybe like a roundtable debate about Showgirls. I'm gonna need someone that loves the movie as much as I do, so that would be a lot of fun. I need someone in my corner too,
It all
and there's
sounds
just going
fun.
mano
I'm
a
up for any of
mano.
it. Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. So again, thank you so much for being a guest with us here today. For myself, again, if you're listening to this, you know where you can find me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you also know you can find me, but you can also find me on Instagram at Angelo416 _ Dr.T Gaymer PhD. Bill, until next time, let's say goodbye. Let's say yasas to everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, until next time, we'll say bye
Thank
to
you again
everyone.
for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for coming here. And I'm definitely going to have you back.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.